Hey everyone, welcome to another Airbrush Asylum live video. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to take a quick look at a sample panel that we're doing. We're doing some stretchy skull artwork on this panel, which will then become a custom Harley paint job. So I think I may have spoken to you about it in a previous live video, and this will turn into another step-by-step, so we're filming for that as well. But we just thought we'd give you a sneak peek. I'll do a little bit of airbrushing on the skull just so you can see how it goes. So why don't we take a look? First thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you with the skulls, instead of just doing them freehand, I've actually made some paper templates. So what you can do is you can jump on Google, just search for skulls and pick the ones that you like, print them out, and then hand cut your own templates. So it's a good thing to do if you don't have templates or if you don't want to buy any. It's a cheaper way of doing it, but it's also a really, really good way to utilize some paper templates and then airbrush a bit of freehand in there as well. So let me just spin the camera around so I can show you what I've done. Okay, so here we've got, first off, just a template that we got from Airsick. So they do some really cool stencils. So we use this as some of our filler skulls, and then we airbrushed freehand from that as well. But these ones here, you can see, are just the paper cut templates. So I've done them on like a photo paper. So you can do them on any sort of paper. Photo paper tends to work a little bit better. Obviously it's a bit thicker, so it's just a bit easier to use for a template, and they don't tend to disintegrate as much as you're using them, so they just last a bit longer. But I've just printed them out in black and white and hand cut the main areas out of that. And then what I do is I hold them onto the surface, spray very lightly with a black that's mixed in with a transparent base, and just to sort of sketch my artwork in where I want it. And then from there I start to render. So I'll move over here. So you can see I am filming for the next tutorial. So this is the panel that we're working on. So you can see it's just over a silver base at the moment. Okay, so the whole panel was painted silver first. This is a House of Colour silver. So you can use any type of silver. And then what I did first was these ones here are actually done with black mixed with a transparent base. So I mixed them with a binder. So something like, again, a SG100 from House of Colour, which is their Intercoat Clear, works really well. Or any other binder from any of the companies will work. And you just mix that down with your reducer and then add drops of black. So this just allows the black to be a bit more transparent. So you can begin to sketch with that. And then from there on we work in with a solid black, which is also thinned out. So you can see here, oh, I'm getting a bit of shadow. But you can see there I've used the black and I'm deepening all the shadows. Okay, so the idea after this is that, depending on what the customer wants to do, but we're sort of allowing for it to be candied if he does. So candy being a total transparent colour, and then that can be sprayed over the entire panel. But I kind of like the look of it as it is. So feel free to leave comments below or shoot them up now if you think it looks cool as is, or do you reckon we should candy it? So we're going to decide that tomorrow when he comes in to take a look. But what I'll do now is I'm just going to hook the camera up. So spin it around. Hang on a sec. Just got to put it in the tripod. And I'll do a bit of airbrushing so that you guys can see. Hang on a sec. Just get that a bit closer. All right. So I'm going to use my CMC Plus Micron. It's got a 0.23mm needle in it. Just move this light to get a better... Okay. So what I'm going to do is just deepen some of these shadows. So you want to be up close. I always start in the sockets. You can see there, and we just run some cracks. Don't know how clear this is going to be on camera, but just thought I'd do a little bit of airbrushing so you can see. I don't just colour the socket in solid black either. So I start darker towards the top and then blend out. So kind of like a graduated tone. That way it gives it a bit more depth. Okay, then we're working the nostrils. Now all this stretchy skin, that's kind of just made up, so as I'm painting, like I sketched it in with the lighter colour, the first tone of black mixed in with the transparent base, and now I'm just deepening those shadows. So a good thing with skulls, obviously you can still add cracks and bits and pieces. I'm going to run some shadows here as well, so just drop shadow that a little bit. We'll work in the other socket. So hopefully you can see this well enough. And hopefully you can hear me well enough, because it is raining here, so we're getting a bit of, I can hear the rain on the factory roof. Alright, so let's cut that in. So you can see wherever I'm adding the detail, I'm working up really closely just to get a nice sharp edge. You can also angle your airbrush, so instead of working straight, you can see I want this graduated tone in this section. I can actually angle it so my overspray travels into that area, which is kind of your safe area. That way you're not trying to hit that mark. So it's a bit easier when you first start airbrushing. You notice I'm wearing a glove as well, so that's always good, especially when you're doing automotive, because if I do happen to touch the surface or if I lean on it, once this is clear coated, it's not going to affect the actual painting, especially when if you want to put candy over something like this. You don't want any fingerprints on there, because then that can show up as well in your clear and stuff everything up, so you don't want to do that. So we'll just work that in. It's got a bit of tip drying happening. So whenever your airbrush dries up on the end of the needle, that's tip drying. So when that happens, you can put your finger over the front, pull it back a couple of times and then blast it out. Or on these airbrushes, they've got the cutaway handle, so you can just keep the air on. I'll just show you like that, and then pull back a couple of times, and that'll dislodge anything that's stuck in there. Because you've got to remember there's air passing through a real fine nozzle. Like I said, this is a 0.23mm nozzle, so any bit of dried paint, and the paint will dry up because the air dries the paint, and that gets stuck in your nozzle and creates all sorts of dramas. So adding sort of a couple of cracks in here, I'm just going to blend out from there. So I've seen a few comments coming through, thanks for that. It's kind of hard because I'm trying to airbrush and sort of look at the screen, so I'll probably have to just respond to them a bit later, but we do appreciate your support. And if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. We're just going to run a bit of an outline there. Working a bit more of that stretchy skin as well, working in the brow section. So I've pretty much established a light source which is sort of kind of over here. So we're just trying to shape everything up a little bit. With the teeth, most people freak out with teeth, so just carefully work it in. It kind of helps a little bit that I've mapped everything in with the lighter tone, because you are just deepening all your shadows. So just feathering that down. So just basically bringing that down to merge that into another skin section. So we can put a bit of a shadow here off this skull's head. So in the full tutorial, I'll show you how I actually use those paper templates. I do have another video which is skulls with orange candy. It's a similar type of an idea. It's just not stretchy skulls, but same sort of principle, and we finished that one off with an orange candy. So That's why I wouldn't mind keeping this silver. I think it looks kind of cool. As I said, feel free to let us know in the comments what you think. But ultimately, it's going to be up to the customer. Just working on that jawline. Adding some more rendering. Just shaping it more. So you can just keep adding and adding. There's no real rules to this. The more detail you add, the more effective it looks. And you can add all your little bits and pieces, all your cracks, your bone imperfections. You can see how I'm steadying the airbrush with both hands as well. So that helps to create my fine detail. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of reflection off that airbrush, but can't do much about that with the panel being silver. We're getting all sorts of reflections happening, and I've got that one light happening, so I'm hoping it's clear enough for you. Just blend that out. So to make that look a bit more three-dimensional, if I shade in this area, what happens is that makes it look like it's sort of curving, right? So it's really a cool way to make things a bit more three-dimensional. So what I tend to do is I'll airbrush all the details in first, and then I'll work my shadows over the top. So that way you're not compromising on your detail. So you sort of look through a shadow, and then you'll see the detail from the teeth. So quite a bit more work on this one, but this will give you a bit of an idea. Obviously we'll just place all of the skulls and the skin side of it, that's all made up as we go, but we'll place everything first with those paper templates. It also gives you a sort of a bit of an indication of where you're going with everything. You kind of like sketch it all in, and then you can just deepen all your details. So that way you know what it's going to look like on the Harley as you're painting, so you're not just working completely freehand. And it's always important too, when you're doing any sort of bikes or pretty much any artwork on automotive surface, or depend on, you know, even a helmet or something like that, you want to make sure that the artwork fits to the shape. So you want to get that flow within your artwork. You don't want it to obstruct it. So what I mean by that is, if you're doing, say, a skull like this, you'd want to have this on the side of the tank, and that would be the front of the tank where my hand is there, and the teardrop would then taper off that way. You wouldn't want that facing the opposite way to the direction of the flow of the bike, okay? So same thing just with helmets and anything else that you do, so keep that in mind. Don't just place stuff willy-nilly, have a bit of a plan of attack, and if you need to, sketch it out first, using either, like I said, the paper templates, but if you're not confident with that, then you can even draw it on with a light grey lead. All right, so we'll leave it there for the moment. Let me just get this camera. All right, cool. Back again. So thanks everyone for joining us. Hopefully that was a bit of an insight to some stretchy skulls, so you can have a go at that. Like I said, there will be a full tutorial coming out. It might be spread over a few parts, so stay tuned for that one. In the interim, if you haven't already, or if you're new to this channel, we're trying to do live updates weekly to show you what's going on in the shop, and we'll do little bits of airbrushing like we just did then, and some tips and tricks. Plus we also focus on new products. And then also we've got our normal quick tips videos, which are shorter tips for you, plus the full tutorials step-by-steps and showcase and all that sort of stuff. So we're really trying to push out more and more videos for you guys, so we hope you enjoy it. We do appreciate all the support, so thanks again for everyone who watched now and anyone that's new to this channel. So we'll see you next week, I suppose, for something else and try and cover something different and show you what's going on in our shop. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.